Johnson heads to the bucket. Layup, Johnson, good!
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers. And boy, I tell you what, a lot of us are kicking the cats, kicking the dogs, doing whatever you got to do. Like they always said, football just wasn't very friendly to us this week. It should be better this week. And it wasn't good for me either as far as the hot picks that I did last week on the end of the show and tell you what I thought would happen with this. Look, before the season starts, when it's game one, you don't know what's going to happen. You can see practice, you can do this, you can do that. Even coaches don't know how they're going to react when it comes to game time. And I had someone ask me, in fact, it was Mr. Batiste from WAFB, sports reporter. He said, "What do you think about Southern?" I said, "Give me one game, maybe two, and I'll let you know how I think this team is going to be, because you really don't know. You think you know, like Jim Morris says, but you really don't know." So let's take a look at where I was right and where I was wrong. We'll start it up with this right here. All right, I had LSU by 5. They lost by 7. Obviously, I was wrong in this category. I had McNeese by 10. They won by 14. I was right here. I just felt that Southern's new offensive coordinator, Mark Frederick, coming in, he's going to be a good play caller. They've got some good skill position players, and their quarterback Noah Bowden is going to be good, but he's just right now, he's just undecisive of what he's going to do. You can see it in his head when he run that way, and he just was shaking his head that way and that way. He didn't know what he was going to do. It's going to take over. More playing time he gets, the better he's going to be. That was only his second start, by the way. I had A&M over Notre Dame by 4. They lost by 10, so I got that wrong. All right, I had Georgia by 13 or more. They won by 31. I got that right. Clemson, word is that the big athletes are not going to Clemson anymore, because Dabo Swinney comes out and says publicly, "I don't believe in NIL and I don't believe in transfers, period." Now, all the coaches think that, but they can't come out and say that. You have to adapt, and he's not adapting. That's just the way he is. And if he doesn't adapt, he could be gone by this year or next year. I mean, he's going to be gone. He had Clemson possibly, when they played LSU, winning 3 out of 4 national championships. Now they cannot play with the big boys anymore. They're getting blasted. They're getting blown out of the water. And so with that being said, now they still have a chance to win the ACC, because the ACC is now weak. So we'll see what happens with that and go from there. But again, Georgia, big win over Clemson. And I had Florida by 3 over Miami. I didn't think the Hurricanes could handle the swamp. They did, and they won by 24. I was wrong on that. And Florida, that will be the first coach fired. Colin Cowherd says the first coach of the NFL is going to be fired is going to be in the Saints. Okay, he says Dennis Allen's going to be the first one fired, but I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if it will be. We'll see. But I got a feeling that Florida is going to be going to an interim coach here very, very soon. So that was where I was right and where I was wrong in the first week. So we're going to talk about LSU USC, obviously, and I know I'm like you. I don't want to even see any reports about it. I don't want to talk about it, but we'll kind of break it down a little bit and show you the Brian Kelly press conference. I know you've seen it 1,000 times. We'll talk about the Southern McNeese game. That was another heartbreaking game. The Saints are playing this Sunday in the very first game of the 2024 NFL slate in the Superdome against Carolina. We'll talk about that and my new Hot 5 for this coming week. So we've got that coming up and a whole lot more as we're talking sports right here. I'm Chris Powers. Jonathan's here. Marty's here. All the gang is here right here except for Alan. Wishing Alan always the best as always with that back issue. Hopefully he'll be back here in the saddle very soon. We'll talk more sports when we come back right after this timeout. I'm Chris Powers, and we're talking sports right here on Pelican Sports TV.
Yeah, I think it's
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fruchade today.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars. All right, welcome back, everybody, as we, of course, are talking sports with me, Chris Powers. LSU USC, great atmosphere. They broke a record in Allegiant Stadium, the biggest crowd ever in Allegiant Stadium. That includes the Super Bowl. That includes Raiders games. They broke the record. There was tons of LSU fans there. USC fans were pretty loud, but I heard it was like a 65-35 clip on LSU fans to USC fans. I think a lot of USC fans didn't think they were going to beat LSU. I know Riley didn't, and Riley went nuts like he won the Super Bowl. His biggest game, his biggest win ever. I think even at Oklahoma. I mean, they've had big wins there, but no, he didn't win in playoffs. He didn't win any against those big SEC teams. And a lot of people talked about how he was afraid to play SEC teams. Well, he went in there and he coached, and look, they didn't look great either. LSU had a chance to win. Everybody's by now has watched the Brian Kelly press conference. Everything Brian Kelly said in this press conference, I can show you my text to a friend, and it's the exact same thing before Brian Kelly even said it, that they were doing. I saw what they were doing, and I just said it's not going to work. They act like they're winning the game. I mean, they are winning the game, but they act like they're up by 2 scores, and they were not. And it was just absolutely frustrating. Kelly was frustrated. Let's go to that press conference right now. The post game of the USC-LSU game, Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I think it's the first time since I've been here that I'm pretty angry at our football team. And, first of all, from a big picture, we didn't play complimentary football. When we did some good things on the offensive side of the ball, we didn't complement, that defensively, and vice versa. But the thing that is most concerning for me are the personal fouls, the penalties that are selfish. Both of them led to scores, and they're undisciplined penalties, and effectively they fall back on me. Unfortunately, it's clear that when we get up in a game, we do not know how to handle ourselves. You got to have a killer instinct in this game. You got to put teams away. We had an opportunity to put this team away, and we get complacent. We make more mistakes when we're ahead instead of having a better focus and a steely-eyed killer instinct, and that's disappointing. And so I'm angry at those things that I have to do a better job in shaping that in this group. We had some guys played their butts off tonight, and we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things, about not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach him better, because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous. And it's crazy.
All right, so you could see he was very upset, very angry. Could that be the woulda, coulda, shoulda press conference that Jim Mora had and it fired the team up and they went on to win big time after that? Don't know. But it looked like, I don't want to say it was staged, but when he went to slam his hands, you could kind of tell that his mind was directing him in that direction. And look, I don't blame Kelly at all. I'd be mad, but I'd have been mad on the sideline. And he's never yelled at his team in the post-game locker room that we know of, but this one he had to, and I hope he did because they deserved it. So when you look at LSU, when you look at everything they've done as far as their drives, when you look at all their drives, the way they got started, their own 23, own 17, but here's how they went. First drive, 13 plays, 74 yards. Look gorgeous. They didn't kick a field goal. My friend was going nuts over that. I usually do. I don't know if I had a problem with it. Maybe. Either way, I don't care because he wanted to set the tone. If he got a touchdown, then that would have set the tone for the game. He didn't. He didn't get any points on it, but they ended up stopping USC anyway, and they had to end up putting the football. The next drive, 8 plays, 31 yards. Next drive, good. 9 plays, 75 yards. Guess what? They got a touchdown for it. 8 plays, 47 yards. Guess what? They got a field goal from it. 3 plays, 9 yards. They got a punt. 7 plays, 78 yards. Another touchdown. 5 plays, 23 yards. Punt. 3 plays, -7 yards. Punt. 9 plays, 61 yards. Field goal. And then, of course, 1 play, 0 yards because they've got an interception. So basically, bottom line is when you break it down, 227 yards in the first half that LSU got, 164 in the second half. That's it, 164. Offensively, obviously they've got to get way better than this. There's no question they've got to get better than this. Offensive line could not open up the lanes for the running backs. They pass block good, they didn't run good. And that's something we heard all preseason that LSU was going to have. That was going to be their most dominant performance, was going to be their offensive line. But, Jonathan, I had a feeling that would be a problem. And I told you at the end of the show, I said this, they never had to run block that much because of the fact that Jaden Daniels formed his own lanes. The running backs last year for LSU were not successful either. This team has got to learn how to run block and open up the lanes and got to do it quick.
Has to get way more creative, Chris. The RPO no longer scares a defense in America. You don't have Jaden Daniels anymore to pull it and tuck it and run 65 yards. So, yeah, they absolutely have to get creative. I mean, you saw Georgia State get absolutely creative against Florida State in week 0 and came out with the win. I thought we'd see more screens, more dinks and dunks. I thought Garrett Nussmeier did play really well. Really frustrated with the penalties, and it's not just on a couple guys. Yes, the personal fouls absolutely directly led to scores, which did impact the game. But you talk about Will Campbell had 2 false starts. I mean, the touchdown pass on Stamps was obvious, an offsides on Major Burns. Major Burns and Kyron Lacey, supposed to be leaders on this team, both veteran guys, played a lot of football for LSU. Both of those penalties are absolutely inexcusable, taking off your helmet for Burns. And then the disgusting, ridiculous motion of Kyron Lacey after he scores a touchdown, and he has to go and do whatever he did to the defender, and that sets up the big return. 2 plays later, USC's on the 2-yard line. You just can't win football games like that. Got to be more disciplined. And
notice that Lacey wasn't a big factor after that.
Yeah, no, they actually sat him in the doghouse. He had 2 targets in the second half, 0 in the fourth quarter. And, yeah, I agree. I thought the offensive line would absolutely impose their will against whoever we played this year for LSU. And it just wasn't the case really for the first half especially. And when they tried to get conservative in the second half, I thought it kind of took Garrett Nussmeier out of his rhythm. So LSU has to figure it out play calling-wise, but still a lot of question marks in the secondary of that defense too.
Yeah, Major Burns penalty I think is stupid. The guy, they just stopped him on 4th down, and I know that's a rule. There's no safety involved in that. As far as rule goes, you're not going to hit any. I mean, he was celebrating. Yeah. I never liked that rule. NCAA is changing up so many rules that it's stupid. Now, if a game's in play, I understand. But the game that play was over, And for him taking his helmet off, I know that's stupid. He should have known better, but I think it's a dumb rule. I'm going to get in a more stupid rule at the Southern McNeese game. They're ruining the game. Stop doing all these stupid changes.
Right.
Keep it like it is,
Right.
in a way. And that's what I say on it. All right. So offense marched up and down the field. You talked about Nussmeier. Jonathan, what I liked about it, he did Drew Brees style passing. You know what that means? He threw the ball right in front of the receiver's face.
Yeah.
That's where you want the ball to go.
Yep.
That Drew Brees did that all the time, so the wide receivers got no excuse for dropping the ball. If it's by your face, you see it, you got no excuse of missing it.
Yep.
And that's what he did. He commanded the offense. I liked it. But again, they were 3 and 4 in the red zone. So, Jonathan, you watched the game a long time. The hardest thing to do with a young, inexperienced quarterback is the red zone.
Right.
I was talking about that today to the media that was covering the Southern press conference. I said, you guys got to understand that. So you get in the red zone at the 20-yard line. That's 30 yards with 22 players there, 11 for you and 11 for them. You get to the 10-yard line, and that is 20 yards. You've got players flying around like flies on a freaking Sunday barbecue. It looks it's confusing. Carr struggled last year for the Saints in the red zone.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get that. So what I would do if I'm Nussmeier, he's going to work at it in the Nickel State game, obviously, but I would work in the red zone drills. If I was a coach, I would work on that more than any other drill there is because it takes time to develop that. It takes a long time to develop that. Defensively, like you talked about, they gave up 447 yards. But listen to this, Jonathan. The last 2 drives for USC covered 139 yards. That's 31% of their total offense. So LSU did, like I agree with what Kelly said in the press conference, are they as bad as last year? No. They did take a step up. That's what I needed to see. But, Jonathan, I'm like you. I thought there were too many open wide receivers and tight ends and too many open spaces. But LSU also played good in the red zone, except for that last touchdown they got because the game was over. Yeah. They were done. And I think also a little bit, the defense might have got wore out a little bit because of all the 3 and outs that we went through and all the times that we in the second half. I kept wondering. It was totally night and day offense in the first half to the second half. I was very, very much disappointed with that.
And I hate to call out guys specifically, Chris, so I won't, but LSU has seen the product on the field enough of a few of the guys in the secondary to where we know what they can and cannot do on the field. Yep. It's time for these young guys to get a chance to get some playing time. And it is a perfect week for it. Nickel State comes to Baton Rouge under the brand-new lights and the brand-new TV and the sound system of Tiger Stadium. But, yeah, I completely agree. The LSU has to rush the quarterback. I thought Savion Jones had a spectacular game. Guy had 2 sacks, also had a block pass. Look, and LSU was inches, just bounces away from having 3 turnovers in that game. Mm-hmm. You go the first drive, you target Lacey 5 times. He catches 4 of them. The 5th pass, when he couldn't get a foot in bounds, was an absolute dime from Nussmeier. That should have been a touchdown. LSU should have came out with some points in that drive. Like you said, I don't mind he went for it on 4th down. Because they did stop USC on their first drive, but USC did a much better job getting their playmakers the ball in space. You saw Zachariah Branch affect the game not only in the kick return game, the punt return game, but they also found him at receiver, and LSU just failed to do that. And granted, Chris Hilton's down. Kyle Parker goes down on the first drive. So you have Aaron Anderson, who also had a good game for the Tigers, but doesn't have a lot of rhythm, a lot of that built-up trust with Nussmeier. Nope. And, I mean, Xavier Thomas, the same thing, a spectacular playmaker, but hasn't had the time to work with Nussmeier to where they had those timing patterns down. And, yeah, when it was time to run the football, when it was 3rd and 1 down in the red zone, LSU was getting stopped. Yeah. And it might be play calling. You know, you rush to the line. You have a guy like Pimpton who's a tight end, which I thought they didn't target tight ends enough, but that's a different story. He has to rush in. Now he's not a blocking tight end. So, of course, USC's going to dart right across his face and get a tackle for loss, and now we're in a field goal situation. I thought LSU absolutely played better on defense. There's no doubt they've gotten tremendously better than last year. Last year they were historically bad. They were able to communicate. It's just these and I hate to single out guys, but Sage Ryan and Major Burns turned out to be liabilities once again for LSU in the secondary, and it's time for some young guys to get some opportunities.
Yeah, they still got work to do, and I'm telling you this, as the season goes on, they're going to get better and better the more games they play. That showed in the 2019 season. I kept telling friends that the LSU defense is going to get better. They didn't look good against Texas, because Texas scored a lot of points and they had a lot of yards in that game. But I said they're going to get better and better. And by the time the national championship game came, even before that, the SEC title game, the Peach Bowl, they looked a lot better. And they played against a good Clemson team, and they won. So LSU's going to get better. There's no question. If I was Coach Kelly, I'd say this right here. And he said what mainly he was upset with, he said his sideline, and I'm assuming he meant coaches and players, thought the game was over. We won. We got this game. But what I would told him this is that there's not one nice billionaire in this world. And what I mean by that is because of the fact that billionaire is taught, Marty can tell you that, he's a billionaire. The billionaire is taught to step on somebody's throat. John Walton, the owner of Walmart, the founder of Walmart, was one of the nicest guys I ever met. Okay? Sam Walton, I meant. Sam Walton was one of the nicest guys I ever met. But he had still his tendencies because guess what? He put Kmart out of business, Sears out of business. I keep going on and on. And the thing about it is you got to be willing to step on somebody's throat. So for Kelly, what I would have said, as a champion, you got to be willing to step on somebody's throat and never feel that you're satisfied, that you're winning by 4, that you're winning by 3. Knock them out of the ballpark. Beat them. Have that killer tendency like the 07 LSU Les Miles Tigers, and have the tendency like the 2019 LSU National Championship, and the 05 national title too with Nick Saban. You got to have that tendency. The 04. You got to have that tendency. You never take your foot off the gas. Now, a lot of people are going nuts about the scheduling better. Jonathan, I'm sure you heard this. Scheduling better. You got to schedule better. Next year, let's play a cream puff like like Auburn did, like Ole Miss, and like all those other teams do. Where is that mentality coming from, LSU fans? We never were afraid to play anybody. I know you're sick of look, my brother paid to go to Vegas. Now get this, Marty. My brother bought a 6-piece chicken dinner and 2 sides and 2 drinks. Take a gamble how much it was. No, it's just from a restaurant over there, chicken place. $69. $69. I said, do you want me to, you know what I told him? And he knows me. I said, you want me to puke it out right here? Because I returned my investment. I ain't buying this. They went to a casino hotel. There's not many buffets anymore. $99 a person. So my brother paid to go and see that. Schedule better? We never were afraid to schedule opponents like that. Jonathan, do you know offhand, you know a lot about LSU, offhand, what was Les Miles' record on opening day?
Oh, man.
11-1.
I was going to say, I think he lost 1 game.
To Wisconsin, the last game.
There you go. Yeah, Green Bay.
11-1.
Yeah.
We beat Washington, Oregon,
yeah.
TCU.
Yeah.
We weren't scared to play those games.
Wow.
And for anybody out there who's still saying that's Brian Kelly that's not doing a good job, let me remind you, 4 years ago you had a wide receiver playing quarterback. A wide receiver playing quarterback. It's not Ogeron's fault. It's just the way the new thing is. Everybody left. Everybody left. Max Johnson wasn't sticking around. No quarterback for that bowl game. Remember that? A wide receiver playing quarterback. So he's got a brand new football team, and with today's deal, he wants to build it like Nick Saban. He wants to build it through high schools and building up the program that way. Where Lane Kiffin, we're going to see if that white lab rat's going to work, if he's building it by the transfer portals. But for anyone who says they want Brian Kelly to go, you got to be really kidding me. You got to be really killing me. And wanting Lincoln Riley, nobody wanted Lincoln Riley back when it was up for grabs. But right now, Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly have 20 wins and 8 losses. They're both the same. They're both hired at the same time. Overall, we all picked, Jonathan, I'm sure you guys picked it on your show, what you thought the LSU Tigers would do. That's all fun. Because I tell a friend of mine this, well, I still think he's going to be 9-3. Well, please tell me the lottery numbers for Wednesday.
Right.
And then guess what? I'll give a hell what the hell happened. You don't know. It's only by fun that we do this. Because sometimes you can lose by 21 points. I've watched game film. You lose by 21 points by 3 plays that went over the head that the football just went right over the linebacker's tip of his fingers and completed pass for the touchdown that lost you the game. It's just that's the way it works. Brian Kelly is still my man. I hope that he fired his team up. We'll see it probably with Nicholls State, but I'm telling you, pardon me, Jonathan, I know you want to get as many players as you can, but if I'm Coach Les Miles, I was about to say Nick Saban, now Les Miles, now Brian Kelly, Nussmeier plays a good part of that game this Saturday.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, there's so many things to work out
yes.
with the offense. But, yeah, and truthfully, they better work in some quarterback snaps with somebody else because they're really not sure, I don't think, who the second quarterback is on this roster. And if Nussmeier ends up getting nicked up during the game, there's going to be somebody else to take some snaps.
Yeah.
With knock on wood, it's only a few snaps because without Nussmeier, this offense is really in trouble. But, yeah, I completely agree, Chris. He should play a lot of this game. They should build their confidence back up on the offensive side of the ball, work those young tight ends, get them involved in the game early and often. Don't just target them once all ball game. Run those 12, 13 personnel we saw all during the offseason. Work the dink pass, work the screenplay, work in all those plays during a game. That's going to make this offense successful.
Right, and I'm pulling for Arn Anderson. I am. I want Anderson to knock it out of the ballpark. He transferred back here from Alabama. He's a New Orleans kid. He's the unbelievable talent. Unbelievable talent. I'm pulling for this kid. I want him to be the very best at LSU. He's got tremendous speed, and I hope that he can get going on that and stay injury-free. That would be, I hope. All right, we're going to talk about Southern coming up. Hey, we're disappointed in the north part of Baton Rouge as well on the Bluffs. This show has seen over 2 million households in the South Louisiana area. New Orleans, still 89% of the metro market of New Orleans has Cox Cable, and also over 340 here in Baton Rouge, 140 in Lafayette, also seen in Morgan City. We are seen 5 times a week. You can see us on Thursday morning at 11, 7 p.m. Also on Thursday, Friday at 9, and Saturday at 8:30. When we come back, LSU had a heartbreaking loss, but so did the Southern Jaguars against McNeese State Cowboys. We'll talk about it here when we come back after this timeout. I'm Chris Powers, and we're talking sports right here on Pelican Sports TV.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton & Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton & Fouget today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, here to Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers. Oh, man, business is slow in Baton Rouge this week, they always say. Both LSU and Southern lost. Not a good way to start the 2024 season. Southern played at McNeese State in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Nice setting. I wish I could say the stadium, the press box area was just as good. But, Jonathan, you know what was weird? They haven't had a game without interruption for 4 years there. They've been hit with 3 hurricanes.
Yeah, that's tragic. You're right.
We had to carry 80 pounds of equipment up to do the broadcast.
Hot dog.
Up 27 steps, which is about equivalent of 9 to 10 stories tall, with no railings.
Chris, lucky to be here, brother.
Man, I needed you, Jonathan. Where were you, bro? I'm too old to climb up that, man. It was unbelievable. But anyway, going to the game, the rest of the field was nice. The tailgating was nice. It was a sold-out crowd. They had a few empty chairs because of the fact they had chance of rain. Only a 15%, but guess what? It came. That 15% was over Cowboy Stadium in Lake Charles. It came, and it poured down, and people started scattering, but only lost it for about 5 minutes, and it was gone for the rest of the time. And we were in a press box, temporary press box, where they got the sides up with the drywall. They had a light hanging from a extension cord, a light bulb. Couldn't read my copy when it turned dark, so we got it to where it would come right over me. So many obstacles. And all of that was being done, Jonathan, while I was doing the halftime show.
Yeah, behind
they
the
were
scenes.
standing on my table, all over the place, all over, almost stepped on my copy of my equipment, all while I'm doing the halftime show. But we had to have it because that light had to be right on me.
Hey.
I love Chris Blair to death, but ain't no way Chris Blair would have done that.
That's why they give you the big bucks, Chris. Exactly. Nobody was any the wiser. Nobody could even tell when they were listening to it either.
No, I know. And I made it. Denise said the same thing. She said, you couldn't know. I didn't know what was going on. Nothing I could hear was going on. But I'm telling you, because when we did the LSU Southern game, Chris Blair has that door locked, and nobody's going in it. Nobody going in that. And this was like an hour and a half before game time. But that's why Chris Blair is so good. All right. Southern's defense dominated, Jonathan, for 3 quarters. 3 times McNeese got over the 50-yard line. That's it. 3 times before the blocked field goal. 3 times. Offense has a long way to go. Get this. So in the first game, McNeese held Tarleton State to only 94 yards of passing, right? We said that last week. This week, they held Southern to 44 yards in the second half. You can't win that way. You cannot win that way.
No, and I thought Coach Henry's defense did a fantastic job getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback for the Cowboys. And I thought Kendrick Rhymes is going to have a bigger game than he did. They kind of bottled him up a little bit. But Southern
he got suspended for the first quarter.
Boom, there you go. And, look, I thought, Southern absolutely played well enough to win, Chris. There was only like 3 plays in the game that absolutely decided, and 2 of them were on special teams. And it stinks, especially Coach Terrence Graves. I mean, he had his team ready to play. And, I mean, all 3 phases. I mean, he told you on the coach's show, special teams is so important because there's so many different ways to score, and it happens so fast. And, unfortunately, it kind of bit Southern in the butt.
Right. Love the leg of Joshua Griffin. He's got an NFL leg. He's a left-footed kicker. He's got a great, great deal. But, Jonathan, he doesn't follow through. He doesn't follow through on his kicks. He's been blocked 3 times in 21 field goals. That's not a good percentage. He does it like a bump-and-run chip shot, like if you're in golf. And when you do that, you have no idea where the ball's going to go. Now, I've got this clip right here, perfect kick. Watch how we're going to see how Joshua Griffin does right here. Take a look at it. All right, so here's in the Bayou Classic. Watch how he stops. I got it in slow motion. Watch how he stops his leg. Bam. It doesn't go follow through. Watch it again. Now, this is NBC. You think they have a better angle than this. This is NBC's national broadcast. See, it don't follow through. Watch it again. Don't follow through. Now, watch how you're supposed to kick the ball. This is how I was taught. I kicked football in high school. I kicked field goals. That one got blocked only because the end around came. Look how high it touched his hand. It touched his hand again there. Bam, that's what you have to do. You have to follow through with your kick. You can't just stop. Now, Coach Graves told me today that Griffin went to a camp, and these guys are these camps that are not coaches. They try to teach these players how to kick and how to pass and how to catch and all that stuff, but they're not coaches. So they ruined his kick. He's got a great NFL leg, period, big time. But he does not follow through on his leg. He just stops his leg, and that makes it to where the ball can go anywhere. Noah Bawden has a good arm. Only one drive that they scored, the only touchdown, he went 3 for 4. He completed his first pass and then went 3 for 3 in his next passes on that drive. Defense kept plugging away. They're 19th right now in FCS. Coach Henry Miller's got his team doing unbelievable right now. They were flying over the football. And Davin Cotton, of course, Jonathan, I know you might remember this guy, 5-star recruit from LSU. He transferred to Southern University. This guy is the only guy can stop if on defensive tackle if a running back's coming by him, he can hold his arm out and stop them right there. Because the rest of everybody else, you're going to tear your biceps. They stopped doing that now. You don't see players doing that because they kept wondering why I'm telling bicep tears. You can't arm tackle a college player, especially an NFL player. You can't arm tackle a college running back. They're too strong. You have to get them both, and you have to have help. But he can do that. He can grab one hand and tackle a guy like that. That guy's been playing forever. It's his 5th season at Southern, and he's still doing a great job on that offensive line. Kelby Givens also doing a great job. Williams doing that linebacker spot, did a great job. They had a guy, Demarius Brown. He is a new guy. He transferred from Miles College. He was a safety. He led the team in tackles with 7. He did great. What a great story. And Jim Kleinpeter, I saw from the Advocate today, said he's going to bring him in for an interview today. And I said, Jim, that might be a good story. He said, I'm thinking like you, Chris, because I said this guy played at Miles College in 2021 at Southern. He had 6 tackles against Southern. Now he's transferred, graduate student. He transferred to Southern University. Good for him. He led the team in tackles. Great job on that. Defense looked great. Offense, it's kind of like the same thing LSU did. They interchanged offensive lines and what have you. One returning starter, that guy was the center in the game. One fan said, y'all kept snapping over the quarterback's head. And it's like, what game are you watching? No, one time the ball went over the punter's head. That's it, one time. And that was the 2 things, Jonathan, that killed him. The 2 special team snafus is the thing that killed Southern in that ball game. Yeah. One was a blocked field goal that hit the back of a player, offensive lineman. So it wasn't blocked by them. It was hit by one of the offensive linemen. And the other one was a snap over the punter's head, and he kicked it out of bounds, kicked it out of the end zone.
Right.
So get this, Jonathan. Kicks it out of the end zone.
Right.
Coach Pete Richardson's telling me that's illegal kick. You can't do that. Yeah, you can.
Right.
But we got the explanation from the official after the ball game was over. This is stupid. This is why I tell you they're messing this game up, Jonathan. So now, when you kick the ball out, the opposing coach, McNeese Coach Goff, has an opportunity to either
decline,
take the penalty,
right,
or take the safety.
Right.
Now, who in the hell would take the safety?
Well, when you got the ball on a 5-yard line, yeah, you go for a touchdown, right? I
mean, are you kidding? That should not be an option. The PA announcer thought it was a safety. I thought it was a safety. Obviously, Pham, who's the punter, thought it was a safety as well. Unbelievable. That was dumb. So they took it and they scored a touchdown with their big quarterback. He got it on 2 tries. After the second play, he made the touchdown. And that made it 14-7 at that point. And Southern just gave up like LSU did with that last touchdown that they gave up. And also the interception after that. They just gave up after that. It was done. And Southern loses the ball game. But defense keep plugging away. They're 19th in the FCS right now in total defense. And they're in the top 10 in stopping the pass. They only allowed 108 yards in passing. So they've got a lot of work to do. And just like we talked about just a minute ago, Jonathan, they got a lot of work to do in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it gets tough, Chris, like you already said. Yep.
Yeah, and the young offensive line needs to work too. They had 66 yards on 39 carries for the running backs. That's 1.7 yards per carry. That ain't going to cut it.
Yeah, Bowden threw the interception in the end zone. They're trying to score. I absolutely turned the game around. Yeah, it was guaranteed points turned into a change of possession. So that's
right.
At least a 12-point swing.
Yeah. And the ESPN Plus announcer, play-by-play guy, is the McNeese radio play-by-play guy. He came in. We talked a long time in the booth. And I heard they told me this, but friends of mine watched the broadcast, said that if Southern would have kicked that field goal to make it 10-0, he didn't think McNeese was going to come back after that.
Yeah.
He thought that defense was holding that good. But I like Coach Graves. I do. I've known him for 100 years, it seems. I love him to death, and I think he's going to be a good guy. At the fourth quarter, he got his team. They knelt down, and he tried to get him back in the ball game and motivated. I think the defense got tired. I think LSU's defense got tired as well. That happens. That's where you got to understand. You have long, sustaining drives that keeps the defense sitting down and relaxing. So, Jonathan, when you look at football, it's like I asked a friend of mine, what is the most interchangeable position in football? Everybody always wants it's the defensive line. See, offensive line, you want your offensive line, they got you, Marty. Offensive line, they want you to be big and upper body strength strong. Potatoes in the sack is what they call it. That means your butt's got to be big. and you got to have muscle, good quick feet and legs. That's what an offensive lineman does. Used to be the offensive lineman also had big guts. Not anymore. But the defensive tackles, they are still that way. You know why? I want you to get in the gap, and I want you to plug that gap. But at the same time, when you're that out of shape, you got to be interchanged out regularly because they can't take it. They're the most they're out of shape players there are. And I don't have any disrespect for them. That's the position is. Defensive tackles, nose guards, whatever you want to call them, they're the most out of shape players in all of the football game. They're still good shape and they're still strong, but they're 300-something plus pounds and they've got belly fat and all that stuff. So notice that Nick Saban changed the rule. Nick Saban kept griping about how the offense is changing and my defensive tackles, I don't have time to get them out of the game. And that when he griped and all that stuff that year, the NCAA changed that rule to where if the offense changes any personnel, the referee stands over the ball, and therefore the defense has a chance to set up. So if they bring in 4 wide receivers, what Nick Saban's going to do is probably have 1 defensive tackle and 7 DBs or 6 DBs. That's what he's going to do in that. So if the offense can get better for Southern and get clicking, this team could be tough to beat with that kind of defense. Jonathan, Coach Henry Miller is how good he is. And I'm telling you, this guy's going to get a big job one day, whether it's a head coaching job or at a major school. They've been in the top 25 his 3 years that he's been the defensive coordinator at Southern.
Yeah, I mean, they've been so good, Chris. He had to kind of change his moniker and change it to the G to G movement. They want to go from good to great because they've been good. They've been good for quite a number of years now, but now they're trying to be great and go win a SWAC championship.
Right.
And look, they have some players on the defense side. Kelby Givens is a D1 talent. I mean, that guy is going to get a chance on an NFL roster. We'll see how far he can go.
Yeah.
But they have real talent on that defense.
Yeah, and he changed his number to number 1, by the way. This year, he changed it to the number 1 spot. So I think he's very good, and I think he's going to continue to be very good. All right, when we come back, the Saints are playing in their first game for the 2024 season, regular season that is, and we'll have our Hot 5 coming up this weekend. We'll do that when we come back as we're talking sports right here with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton & Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton & Fouget today.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And that just, like I said, it was just unbelievable, and LSU fans are ticked off. Change the schedule, they said, Jonathan. I don't know why I'm calling you Matt. Change the schedule, they're saying. And some of the radio guys, I understand, after the game on some of the other networks were saying the same thing. Next year we need to play somebody like a Nicholls State or whatever. I'm like, those guys have a radio show, and they don't know the ins and outs of what really happens. The what happens is they sign a contract 6-7 years in advance.
And you know who's next year, Chris?
Yeah, Clemson.
At home.
At Clemson. And then the next year we play at home in Tiger Stadium against Clemson.
Yeah.
Those things have been done for a long time. But for me as a former player, let's play. Let's put the chin strap on and let's play anybody. Right. Georgia's that way now. And I know LSU's not on that level. And let me tell you, LSU fans are just frustrated right now. We've been, since 19, we've been out of the playoff picture and out of a championship picture. I understand that. But again, I bring you back again. It took Ogeron 3.5 years to win a championship here. It took Saban, 4 years to win a championship here, 3 at Alabama. It takes time. Look how long it took Kirby Smart to win a championship at Georgia. It takes time. Do we have the best guy for the job? I think we do. Don't know yet. He's never won a championship. But one of my friends brought an interesting point up. Could it be another Mark Richt, Jonathan? Could it be another Marv Levy?
And I've heard the Mark Richt comparison already. And look, until Brian Kelly does win the big one, I mean, how do you say no? He's way better than that. He just, for some reason, that's out of his control. He hasn't won the big one yet. All I know is 3 years in a row, starting 0-1. Brian Kelly's going to start feeling exactly how ugly Baton Rouge fans can be because this team, this is supposed to be different. The biggest game on their schedule was Week 1 against USC.
Right.
They had a chance to go 5-0 to face Ole Miss off of a bye, and now you're just hoping they can go 4-1.
Yeah, and not only that, but so Kelly, I saw at Notre Dame was a different coach. Yeah. He was always constantly yelling.
Yep.
He was doing stuff like that to the members of the media and all that stuff. I didn't see that too much here. Now, he has been yelling on the sideline for LSU. I'll give him that, but not quite as hot as I've seen him at Notre Dame. Could that change now? Because I'll tell you this, when him getting hot and slamming his thing on, they bashed him, national media bashed him. I don't.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it hopefully fired his team up, but hopefully he went to that locker room and chewed their living behinds out for that.
Yeah, I hope that the extent of the fury wasn't, relinquished on that poor table he had to smack because I watched every second of that press conference and all of his answers were not that fiery. He was very down. He started it by saying, "This is the first time I've been here since I've been kind of angry at the team."
Right.
I wouldn't have been a little angry. You had two veteran guys cost you points in the most important game on your schedule, and that's. The selling point on Brian Kelly was this team was going to be disciplined. Graduate champions was his moniker. Right now, the leadership, there's some question marks. If I'm that head coach, Kyron Lacey and Major Burns both ran laps before they got on a plane back. There's no doubt.
Lacey, you have a chance to be the next great wide receiver at LSU.
Yep.
And you're going to do a gun gesture? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You think any NFL executive is going to want to draft you when you do a thug move like that?
And the sad part was, Chris, when they caught it on the national broadcast.
Yeah.
After he did it, they threw the flag. They were like, oh, well. Then he went to the sidelines, did it again, and bragged to his teammates that's the gesture he made after he scored a touchdown. Like, when was scoring touchdowns not cool enough? Now we have to prove, how big of a showboat we are after every time they score. It's getting out of hand.
I tell you, I'm the old school, but now you can't do that almost in a way and stuff like that. I'm the old Bill Parcells moves, and because I remember Bill was mic'd up one time, and I think it was Carson. Came up, and that he got a personal foul penalty, and he said the guy spit in his face, and Bill Parcells said, "Come here," grabbed him by the face mask, and said, "If you get one more flag, you're going to polish the bench with your ass."
Yeah.
Not one more, but coach, not one more flag. And I love the way Bill Parcells coached like that. And I would do the same thing in that deal. Lacey, okay, one more shot and you're going anyway if you do another unsportsmanlike penalty because that's 2 and you're out. But anyway, I just say, you're going to do that stuff? We're not going to have another boutique. I'm not going to take that. You can just go ahead and get out of here right now. But we'll see what happens because that becomes a cancer on your team. I don't think Lacey's going to be that way. I think Lacey's going to learn his lesson. I really do. But once again, I go back to, and I know he knows it was illegal, but I go back to Major Burns taking his helmet off. Just calmly tell him, you know you can't do that. Don't do that again. I think that was wrong. Guy, take your helmet off. You just stop him on a 4th down, a big play, momentum going your way. I don't see a problem in it. It doesn't hurt the player if he's got his helmet on. He's not taunting the other team or whatever. I just think that was just that's a dumb call by the NCAA, I think. But that's the way it is. All right, let's talk about the Saints getting ready for their 2024 home opener. The Carolina Panthers, this is, let's show the video from last year. They swept the Panthers last year in the Superdome, and the first game was on a Monday night game. It was an absolutely boring football game. But the second one, the Saints kind of willed their power to win. This is a Alvin Kamara touchdown right there on a rushing play. He didn't get many touchdowns last year. Here's a blocked field goal. No, this is the actual field goal that goes in. Makes it 7-3, Carolina. Carolina would have a punt, and that's where the Saints blocked it right there and took it in for the end zone for the touchdown as the Saints took a 14-3 lead here. Now, it's playoffs or bust for this coaching staff. There's no doubt about it. Playoffs or bust. They don't make the playoffs, he's gone. Saints fans are not going to put up with that. Derek Carr has a weaker offensive line, though, than last year. That scares the hell out of me. A weaker offensive line. The running game could struggle because of that now. So the running game is going to have to play good, but if you don't have a good offensive line, hence Williams at running back number 21 led the NFL in Detroit the year before he came to the Saints in touchdowns and broke Barry Sanders' touchdown mark. So, Jonathan, you can't tell me that guy don't know how to run, but if you have got no offensive line, he's not going to find the lanes to run. Even though Taysom Hill finds the lanes, Williams was just ineffective last year.
Yeah, I completely agree. It took him to the last game, a play that actually got Jameis Winston run out of New Orleans. The fake take and knee play that got Jamal Williams his first touchdown.
Right.
He's going to have to do more for the Saints this season. Kendre Miller still battling injuries. Who knows what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara? The guy wants a new contract. Saints aren't ready to pay him how he wants to be paid. So hopefully that works itself out. But, need to have more out of Williams. Got to have more out of the tight end position. You see Jimmy Graham right here. Of course, he's gone. Jawan Johnson has to step up. Saints have been waiting for him to be the player that they believe he is. And, look, it's going to be tough without offensive line. And you already mentioned it's weaker than it was last year. And last year it wasn't very good. So you lose Ryan Ramczyk, you slide over a rookie, and Trevor Penning's going to have to play. And we'll see how bad the back is for Fuaga. Expected to play, but Chris, Saints' schedule did not do them any favors. Absolutely.
That's the beginning.
Had to start week one with the NFC South opponent. Then you go on the road to Dallas, come home, and you get the Eagles. So both those teams are expected to contend for Super Bowl bids. And then it's the Atlanta Falcons, who are going to be, exponentially better. Spend a lot of money on a new quarterback.
And don't forget Monday Night Football game against Kansas City.
The Chiefs, right.
And then a Thursday night game at home in the Dome against Sean Payton of the Denver Broncos. But I agree with you. I said that when I said at the beginning of the season. I said they're going to struggle early on, understand that. And then by the end, the schedule weakens up. It's the second easiest schedule in the NFL. It opens up a little bit. But the problem is with Atlanta getting all the talent they got, they have the easiest schedule in the National Football League. So Atlanta could very well jump up to the top of the NFC South. NFC South is the weakest division right now in the NFL, at least going into this season. Could have changed by then because we used to be the strongest. We used to be the strongest division in the NFL, but now it's not the case. Still not deep at wide receiver, Jonathan. I don't like any offseason the way they did it. Yeah. They needed to get deeper at wide receiver. I want another third wide receiver that we can depend on. I need depth there. They didn't do that during the offseason. I'm just disappointed with that. Defense is the strength of this team, but Jonathan's one of the oldest in the National Football League.
Oh, yeah. No, they're trying to pretend that they don't believe in Father Time. Demario Davis, the Honey Badger, Cam Jordan, these guys are well into their veteran years, and the Saints going to make a run. They're going to have to do it now, or get young at those three positions. They're going to have to. Right. They're going to have to move players out. I believe that if Derek Carr can get some touchdowns in the red zone instead of field goals, the Saints have the defense to win 10 games this season.
I think linebacker could be the weakest part of their defense, and I'm not going to go real bad. Eventually, at some point, they're going to get older. Pete Warner's a good new fresh face, but will he stay healthy? That's the thing about that. They got Gay there. Gay looked good in the preseason. He really looked good. He was the guy they got from Kansas City. They signed on a one-year deal, so he looks good. Defensive line, I think, might be a little weak, but I think that it will be okay with their two defensive ends, and I think they're going to put Cam Jordan in at defensive tackle is what we're hearing a lot. At sometimes he's going to be on that inside spot, so I hope that's the case. Ought to be interesting. They should beat Carolina with, get this, Jonathan. Now, you know there's instability and what have you, right? In 3 seasons with the Carolina Panthers, they've had 5 different head coaches.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
Now, is that I've never heard of so much. I mean, are you kidding me? That's no continuity.
Right.
Tepper is hedge funds, but he does not know football. Let somebody else run it. 5 coaches in 3 seasons. That's 3 head coaches and 2 interns.
Oh,
That's horrible.
What's crazy, Chris, is the last one passed on C.J. Stroud to trade up to get Bryce Young, and Bryce Young has won 5 ball games in 2 years, and C.J. Stroud was the rookie of the year. So, yeah, I think swing and a miss on that one.
Yeah, unbelievable. 5 coaches in 3 seasons. I just can't get over that. That's crazy. All right, it's time now for the Hot 5. What I think is going to happen this week. Let's get to it, and let's do it right here. All right, LSU hosting Nicholls State, the home opener for LSU in Tiger Stadium. LSU by 30+. Nicholls State struggled in the first game, but not only that, LSU is just going to look dominant in this game. It's at Tiger Stadium. I don't know if there'll be a sellout crowd, but it'll be close. They probably sold 102,000 seats, the allotment. There'll be a lot of tailgating. It's a night game at LSU. I think it'll be great. By the way, remember, LSU and Southern both play at home in Baton Rouge this week, so traffic will be crazy, especially on the I-10 with that construction. So understand that. So I think LSU's going to win. Like I said earlier, Jonathan, I would play a lot of my first stringers at least into the third quarter. I'd like to see them get them going and get their legs on. LSU, really, they go to South Carolina, but they don't really have a bigger game until they play Ole Miss. That's when they're going to get the taste of this USC loss out of their mouths, the fans. It's when they beat Ole Miss, and I hope they can do that. Right now, I don't think they can. Yeah. Right now, the way I'm seeing this team and the way I see a lot of open wide receivers and tight ends, I don't look for them to beat them. So Jonathan, what I want to see them do is put more pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Perkins did have a good game, even though they didn't mention his name a lot. He made one unbelievable tackle where he went to tackle the running back, and the other guy had the ball, and he just let him go and tackled him with one hand. I thought that was an unbelievable play. But I think he was second in the team in tackles with 7, I think.
He was first in the team with 9, I believe. Whit Weeks had 7 with second, I believe. I think that's what the numbers were. I think Perkins was first in total tackles, but, yeah, Whit Weeks was second. Whit Weeks was also second on the team in tackles, only played 21 snaps. Get that man some more playing time. I also take the Tigers and the points against Tim Rebo and the Colonels.
No question. Savannah State comes into Baton Rouge to take on the Southern University Jaguars. They're from the SIAC Athletic Conference, and they're going to be in here on 6 o'clock game at A.W. Mumford Stadium. Southern's going to win this by 24 points or more. Again, I do the same thing. Keep your first team in there for a long time and do it that way, but Southern will win big time. It's the Pete Richardson Classic, 6 o'clock start at A.W. Mumford Stadium. I think Texas goes into Michigan. I think spanks them by 14 more points. Michigan struggled in that game this week. The coach said that. They didn't like what he saw. Texas is going to go in there. Michigan's not the same team. They have a new coaching staff, new players. Michigan struggled against Fresno State. I think Texas wins by 14 or more points. I think Tennessee wins by 8 over North Carolina State. A lot of people thought the Wolfpack would be a good team in the ACC. They kind of struggled against Western Carolina this week, winning 38-21. I got Tennessee by 8 over North Carolina State in that game. And the Saints by 7 over Carolina and the Panthers. Saints are 7-3 in the last 10 meetings with the Panthers. Saints swept them last season. Tough game on Monday night, but earlier in the Dome, they beat them pretty easily. That'll do it for us this week. We'll be back again next week to talk about Week 2 and more. Talking sports with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
Rocks and fires. Tommy White with it. Johnson heads to the